What's up, everybody? I'm back. Yep, I spent a month down in LA for work, and I loved it. The weather wasn't as great as I expected it, but it was. As soon as I got back here, I realized how much I still love LA. Just can't afford to live there, so I live up here in Portland. Can't afford to live there yet. So, what we're doing today is, if you saw my Instagram posts, we're changing wheels. We're gonna take the OEM wheel, BBS. They're all BBSs. We're going to take these off. Going to reinstall the BBS CHRs. I did say I was going to sell the CHRs, and actually I had a local friend of mine who was going to buy them, and then I changed my mind, and I feel really bad about it. But I have two reasons why I'm doing it, and I'm going to show you the reasons right now. Let's get this other wheel off, and I'm going to show you reason number one, and then I'll talk about reason number two. Give me 1 second. All right, I got both wheels off. And so you see I have Continental tire on this one, and I got a Michelin tire on that one. Focus, there we go. So the reason I'm doing this, number one reason, my Continentals are down to the wear bars. This is the first time I've driven these tires to the wear bar. And the cool thing is, these are DWSs. So usually it says DWS right here. And you can see they're different depths. So as the S wears out, the S stands for snow. That means you can drive these in the snow, hence the pattern, the little biting edges, and how narrow these channels are. These tires work really well in the snow. S is gone. The next one is the W. That's for rain. And I've driven a lot of rain. And right now, in their condition, they still work good. They work okay in the rain, but they will get slippery. Fortunately, I have all-wheel drive, and that has saved my butt. So they still have the D. These are still good for dry weather driving. They still have tread if you want to drive in the dry weather. But they are already at the wear bars, and this is the lowest I've gotten a set of tires in a long time. I typically do not get a set of tires this low. They are so low that when I went and got an oil change in Long Beach, Porsche of Long Beach, they made me sign a waiver saying I knew the tires were in the red and below their safety limit, and they were not going to be held liable for anything that happened to me. That was 1,200 miles ago. I made it from Long Beach, I think 1 or 2 more days in LA, then all the way back here, so about 1,200 miles since then. And the tires are still good. They're worn, sure, but they are not dead. I didn't have a blowout. I trust these tires completely. I've had this model tire on multiple vehicles, completely trust it. So because these tires are so worn, we're going to go back to the Michelins. I did a measurement test, and the Michelins still have about 6 mil of tread depth. It doesn't look like it because it's such a wide tire, but it does. These are down to 1 millimeter. There's 1 millimeter tread depth left in this tire. So we are definitely switching to Michelins for that reason. So first of all, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Both of these tires are all seasons. They're not summers, they're not winters. So crucify me for that. Secondly, they're not the right size for my Carrera 4S. The Continental tire is the tire that fits on a 996 Gen 1 car. The Michelin tire, because that's a 12-inch rim, is the same size tires that fit on the GT3 RS of my generation car. So technically, that fits my car better. As far as speedometer being off too, the Michelins, it's pretty much dead on with the Continentals, because this is a 285 instead of the 305 I'm supposed to be running. With the Continentals, I was off 2 or 3 miles an hour depending on GPS and radar or whatever else. So we're going to get the Michelins on, but that's only the number one reason I'm changing it. The second reason I'm changing it is because the OEM wheels have spacers on them. And you can see inside here the depth of the spacer. Well, this depth is supposed to be what this sits on. And the whole thing doesn't sit on there, because if you come from the side, you can see part of it does not sit on there because it's inside of this hub. Oops, sorry. It's within the hub, so only 3/4 of this needs to sit inside this wheel. But on the rear wheels, it's not that big of a deal. On the front wheels, I will show you on the front wheels when I pull the front wheel off. I've had balance issues. I've had the wheels rebalanced many times, and I think my balance issues, well, part of my balance issues is the wrong tires. But the other balance issue I've had is because of the spacers. With the BBS CHR wheels, these beautiful things here, I don't need spacers because they are cut to fit perfect on there. The offset is perfect. They fit flush with the body. They're wonderful. What makes me wonder, this is a 997.2, but it kind of makes me wonder, in that generation, this is the C4S, so it's a wide body. If Porsche during that time frame did not make a different offset wheel for wide body versus narrow body. I mean, I don't know, I haven't researched it, but I wonder, did narrow body and wide body cars have the same offset? If so, that would make total sense as to why these wheels, when they're without the spacer, they look like they're tucked in. I made a video about the spacers a while ago, a couple years ago. I'll put it over here somewhere. And it's not a great video, but you can see the difference between non-spacers and spacers and how much further in the wheels are. That's one thing I do love about the BBS CHRs. They fit flush, no spacers. They just look really good. I'm going to tell you what I hate about the BBS CHRs. And if you're looking at it right here, you can see what I hate about it. You know what it is? Figured it out yet? Cleaning them. That's what I hate about them. I absolutely hate cleaning them. They are a pain to clean. The OEM wheel, though it's dirty as hell, I can clean this wheel in a matter of minutes because it's just a 5-spoke wheel. And it's flat, pretty easy surfaces to work with. The CHRs take me 20 minutes to clean one or more. But let me get the CHRs on the car, and then I'm going to show you the front wheel, because the front wheel, when I pull off the wheel and that spacer, it's very obvious the difference the spacer makes. So let me get working putting this on, and then I'll show you that. All right, this one is going to be a little challenge to show you because I got to hold the phone, aka camera, and do this at the same time. As soon as I break these two loose, so I already broke the torque on them, the wheel's going to move. And I'm going to show you the difference between that versus no spacer. So let's pull that off. Okay, see how the wheel just fell off? All right, let me, so wheel literally just falls off because I got a spacer on there. I'm using my feet to kind of hold the bottom so it doesn't hit the brake caliper. And I'm not gonna do nothing else than just pull the wheel off because I want to show you something. So remember the tang, the 3 low tangs on the back. This is what you get on the front using a spacer. The wheel has that tiny lip to center itself on. So let me pull it off and show you the difference. See the difference? Spacer off, spacer on. Look at how much difference there is. So I would say these spacers work really well. The holes are perfectly. These holes are perfectly lined up with the thread holes. I mean, exact. There's no difference as far as play. But I think maybe a 0.5 millimeter or whatever difference between this lip and whatever the machining is in here makes a small difference when you're riding down the road as far as balance goes. And because I can feel it. And then I can get the wheels rebalanced and they feel a little bit better. And the last time I did this, I said, hey, can you take your time on the front and see if you can center these wheels up? I think the biggest problem is the wheels are not perfectly centered. How I figured that out was, one, I was trying to get it on there, and like you saw, the wheels just fall off. The second was, when I'd get the wheel on there, before I tighten the bolts, the lug bolts on, I'd put them on by hand. And if you move the wheel just a little bit back and forth, you can see all 5 heads of the lug bolts kind of move, do a little dance, which told me, oh, they're not getting centered. They're getting centered once you seat them all the way down and lock them in place. But I'm wondering, are they losing their centering when you're riding, when you hit potholes, when you hit bumps in the road? Now let me show you, without the spacer, how the wheel sits on there. So the spacer's there on the ground. We're gonna just set the wheel on there, and it's gonna be a challenge. I'm not worried about lining up the holes, just getting the wheels on there, because I'm doing this with one hand. One hand, 2 feet. That should be I'm gonna make a OnlyFans. That's what I'm gonna call it, 1 hand, 2 feet. All right, see if I can get this on there. Holding the camera, lifting the wheel. Luckily it's a front wheel, not a rear wheel. So, all right. Actually, let's pop the center off. Be easier to see what we're doing. All right, get on there, baby. All right. Without the spacer, look, I'm not touching anything. Without the spacer, the wheel centers, fits snug, sits right on there perfectly without the spacer. With the spacer, you saw as soon as I got that lug bolt and there's none in there, nothing's in there. Holy, the wheel's sitting perfectly on those tangs. See that? With the spacer on there, you saw that the wheel just falls off. So, and even now, look, it's on there so well that I can't pull it off. I've got to work it back and forth to get it off. Come on, baby. Here we go. So the way it came off just now is how it should be. That's how it should be, snug on there. With those spacers, these are 7mm spacers in the front. Per the Porsche manual, it actually has cutouts for those tangs on the OEM spacers, and it only recommends 5mm. And I can kind of see why. I don't think there's absolutely nothing wrong with these spacers, and there's nothing wrong with running spacers. It looks really good. But just bear in mind that you might not have perfect balance on your wheels and tires when you're driving. And I noticed that because the only reason I noticed it was, you guys saw before I was running these BBS CHRs, and then before my trip I decided to put the classic wheels back on. So within a span of a month, I drove back to back with the classic wheels with spacers. I'm sorry, let me say I'm going backwards. I drove the BBS wheels with no spacers, and then I drove the classic wheels with spacers for 1 month and over 4,000 miles. And I can tell you the BBS wheels without spacers, definitely much better balance. Naturally, I mean, no spacers. Of course it's balanced really well. But so that's my second reason, and probably more important reason, why I'm going back to this BBS CHRs. And I'll probably keep them on this time. No matter how dirty they get, I'll just take my time and clean them. I am going to run the classic wheels in the winter. It's my plan anyways, to run the classic wheels in the winter with no spacers with winter tires. I'm just gonna burn up this set of tires that I have on here. And once those are burned up, we're gonna go to summer tires. The proper size, proper end spec summer tires, and make all the purists happy. Can I get a yay? Yay. So let me get on with putting the front wheel on this one, and then I get on the other side, and you guys are up to date to why we're changing wheels and tires. As far as tires, I didn't talk about tire wear. As far as tire wear on the front, plenty of tire wear. These tires are nowhere near the wear bars. I could, if I wanted to, I could keep these tires, put them on here, and then on the rear, when those wear out, put Continental Extreme Contact tires on the rear. And even though the front will be all seasons, the rears will be summers, it should still work because if you look inside the tread of this tire, what's it say right there? Extreme Contact. So I could do that. Let me get this other tire on, and then we're going to talk about a couple different categories that, from my driving experience, driving the Continentals to the wear bar, and now have driven the Michelins, not quite half tread, but about halfway through. Let me get this wheel on, and then we'll do a little quick review of compare tires. And I'll actually make it a little formal and compare different categories of both sets of tires. Okay. All right, there they go. BBS CHRs. The car is dirty. I cleaned the wheels. I haven't cleaned the car yet. But BBS CHRs back on the 911. I think what really sets them apart is that center cap. I popped in the BBS center cap. It does not look as good as the Porsche Crest center caps. Porsche Crest center caps makes it just 10% more attractive. All right, as promised, we are going to talk tires. Let me show you this real quick. This is front and rear. I'll show you the difference in wear on a 911, because a lot of times we say there's the rears wear twice as fast as the front, but you don't really have. It's hard to tell exactly, other than the tread depth. But here's an easy way to tell. All right, so this is what a worn rear looks like. The D is there, but the W and S is gone, and the same mileage front, DWS still there. Much more tread depth down to the wear bars. Both of these tires were installed together as a pair with the other side at, I don't remember. Let's call it, well, I'm at 67,000 miles now, so 30,000 miles ago. These are supposed to be 54,000 mile tires. I think you will easily get 54,000 miles out of this one. There's no way you're going to get 54,000 miles out of the rear. Absolutely not. I mean, that's 30,000 miles, and we're at the wear bars. The front's plenty of meat on them left. Plenty of meat on them left? Plenty of meat left on them. Whoa, I don't know where I learned English. I did overseas, because my first language is Spanish. Sí, mi primer idioma es español. Yo aprendí inglés después de que aprendí español, aunque no lo crean. So I said we're going to give you a review. Let's put the car in the background. So let's give you the review. So Continental versus Michelin. All seasons, of course. So first of all, nobody who drives a Porsche 911 is running all seasons except me, because I'm that guy. Mileage. The Michelins, I've driven the Michelins cross country to Tail of the Dragon. What else did I do? I also went somewhere else. So give or take, I've got maybe 12,000 miles on the Michelins. And they are rated at also something like 50,000 miles. And the fronts will probably make it, no problem. The rears, they're not going to make it. But I do think the Michelins are wearing better than the Continentals are. I think the Continentals wore down a little bit faster than the Michelins. But I won't know that until I'm near the 30,000 mile mark with the Michelins. So I got a ways to go. So that's mileage. Performance, I'm going with Continentals. Continentals all day long. The Continentals, even though they're all seasons, they give you cold weather performance. They give you hot weather performance. They're good on every road. I mean, even these tires, the rears that are on wear bars, when I drove from LA back up here, I drove through rainstorms. I drove through a little bit of snow. I drove through dry roads. And while they gave me a little slip, it was nothing dramatic, and I was fine. The Michelins that have twice as much tread on them, when I had some light snow, were sliding all over the place. Not enough to get me stuck, but enough that I didn't feel confident with them. So that's cold weather stuff, though. In super hot weather, the Michelins feel almost gummy-like a little bit. They're soft. The Continentals definitely did not lose their composure in hot weather. They did not change how they shape, or change their shape or get softer. I will say that the Continentals definitely, they don't wear evenly once you start pushing them to high performance levels. You definitely get some mismatched wear and uneven wear, and you notice that through a little bit of vibration, because then you'll go get a road force balance and they'll tell you, hey, your tire's got a high side or a low side, which it doesn't have when it's brand new. So I say for max performance, yeah, Continentals probably are not the best choice, but Michelin's versus Continentals all seasons, I still think the Continentals are a better tire. Comfort, I was leaning towards Michelin. Initially, when Michelin's are brand new, they're much more comfortable, much quieter than the Continentals. Well, a little quieter, not much. As soon as they wear down, though, they're the same noise level, same comfort level. Once they wear down even more, a worn set of Continentals is much more comfortable than a worn set of Michelin's, in my opinion. The Continentals, I don't know. It just seems like even though they were wearing down, they never lost their comfort, their performance, their handling. It just felt good the entire time. The Michelin's were much more comfortable when they were new. They didn't really lose that much comfort. They're still about the same. They're still the same quiet, but they do get a little stiffer as they wear in a little bit. So there's mileage, performance, comfort, road noise. I give it to the Michelin's. Michelin's got better road noise. Continentals are a little bit louder. They roar a little bit more. What else we want to talk about? Price. They're about the same price. Should you buy all seasons if you don't want to run winters? No, absolutely not. Now, I've learned my lesson. Summers and winters is what you should be running on a 911. Don't be like me running all season. Now, I say what I say and then I go do other things. But I've been running all seasons on every car until 2 years ago. I started running winter tires. And yeah, I will run winter tires next winter season. Although it's April and this morning, right now it's all sunny and pretty. But this morning we had giant snowflakes, I mean the size of my hand snowflakes falling down everywhere. And the temperature keeps dropping every night into the low 30s. And they're calling for avalanches in the mountains and in and around Mount Hood. So I think someone forgot to tell Mother Nature it's springtime because it still feels like winter. And the only reason I don't have my jacket and hat on right now is because I was doing the work of putting this on. And so, I worked up a little bit of steam. And so I got warm. But so long story short, going forward, I will probably run summers and winters. Why did I initially go to all seasons versus when I had summers when I bought the car? Because I was riding home one day, and it was one of these days like today. This is when I used to live in Seattle, and I was working in Portland, so I'd go back and forth. I was going home on I-5, and the temperature dropped from 50 to like 38, 39, maybe 40 something, and I had summer tires on. The dramatic change in traction with a little bit of rain and a little bit of temperature, I didn't like that. It was significant. It could have just been the tires I had, but I did not like how those summer tires felt as soon as the temperature dropped into the 40s or lower. It just was not a comfortable feeling in the rain. With the all seasons, you don't even think about it. You just power through. You don't even got to slow down. They have so much traction. So that's why I switched to all seasons. What will I do in the future? Being where that I live in the Pacific Northwest right now, in the future, I'll just run winter tires longer. That's to avoid that. I won't put summer tires on the car until it's actually summer-like weather. Until we live consistently in the 70s, then I'll get summer tires. But if temperature is still in like the mid-50s, even a low 60, I'll probably still leave the winter tire on there until it warms up a little bit. So there's my 2 cents on tires that you're not supposed to put on a 911, but I do anyways. So stay tuned. I don't know what we're going to do next, but I got some more stuff in the future.